Mr. Speaker.
Hi, BJ.
How'd you like those pictures?
I know. I sent them to Dennis.
Okay, good evening, everyone. It's 5:30, and I'd like to reconvene this status hearing that we called to order yesterday late afternoon. For the purposes of this hearing, in accordance with the open government law, notices were sent to all main media outlets, all senators and stakeholders 5 days in advance on June 11, 2014. And a second notice was sent on June 16, 2014. For tonight's status hearing, we're going to focus on the Department of Agriculture Director Marquita Taidagui and her key personnel on the matter of the Indigenous fishing rights law. I'd like to welcome and thank Vice Speaker B.J. Cruz for being here, as well as Senator and Dr. Eileen Yamashita. I do have a sign-up list of almost maybe 15 to 20 people that wants to be recognized tonight. Let me begin by bringing up the Director of Agriculture and her key personnel that Tino and Jay, right? We're here tonight for this status hearing. Welcome back, Madam Director. You were here last night on the animal quarantine procedures. So tonight we're going to focus on a bill by Senator Judy Gutherds. It's a Public Law 29-127. It's an act to add a new Section 63133 to Chapter 63 of Title 5 of the Guam Code Annotated relative to Indigenous fishing rights. This bill was signed into law by Governor Felix P. Camacho on December 31st, 2008. And it was also, at the time, unanimously approved by the Guam legislature. I want to point out, and I want to make it very clear that we're here tonight because this law, in Section 3 of this law, is very simple. It requires the submission and enactment that the Department of Agriculture shall submit draft rules and regulations for consideration for the AAA process within 90 days of enactment of this act into law. This is since December 31st, 2008. Certainly it's been more than 90 days. And over the years, we've corresponded with the Director of Agriculture asking for status updates. The Director of Agriculture has also had to respond to requests from members of the public regarding the status of these rules and regs. And so tonight we're going to get to the bottom of where we're at with the rules and regs. And Director, I want to welcome you back along with members of your staff for this particular portion of the status hearing. I want to begin by asking the status of Public Law 29-127 pursuant to Indigenous fishing rights. Where are you at in the approval form of the rules and regulations?
Buenas and good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Marquita Taidagui, Director of the Department of Agriculture. Along with me are my chiefs, Tino and Jay Gutierrez. Tino Agon and Jay Gutierrez. And we are prepared to answer some of the questions that you have posed before us, Senator Rory Respicio. So your first question that you asked.
I guess what I'll do is you basically sent us a list of questions to address in terms of the draft rules and regulations. Basically, what we're on, kind of like we're on the 21st iteration of the draft rules and regulations. During the whole the process after the enactment of or the passage of the bill or the law, we've gone through multiple iterations, and what it was entailing the input not only of we had basically a kind of interim task force during that process, Secondly, there was also the issue related to much of what the division or the department's funding basis and trying to make that work in terms of the draft rules and drafting rules and regulations. There is a conflict within our, and that was based on a letter from the director of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service of Region 1 pertaining to potential conflicts of the rules and regulations as is presented in public law. And so that was a red flag. Another kind of twist to this whole process was that the previous director, the previous deputy director was working out a kind of community-based management plan with the community of Malasu. And basically, what the draft plan is supposed to entail. One thing I should also mention is that this whole process, the deputy at the time was working with the Western Pacific Regional Fisheries Management Council, WestPac, as we are commonly known, and coming up with a community-based management plan. The bottom line of the plan was to try and was basically to form a community within the village, and this task force, so to speak, would be responsible for working with our department, the division, in terms of managing the resources. As you know, the Achang Marine Preserve is in that area, and it also actually entails parts of Cocos Island, all the coastal areas in the south in that regard. The bottom line is, and they've been working with WestPac in terms of getting the draft plan worked out.
All of those things are fine
Sure.
to give us some background as to who tried to do this and who tried to do that. But my question is specific. Where are you at in the approval form of the rules and regulations? Do you have a current draft that was submitted to the, was any, you said you went through 21 iterations.
Right.
Where is this 21st iteration at? Is it at the governor's office? Is it with the attorney general?
We, I believe we actually got it to the attorney general, right? And but the other side of the so basically it's in our bill for the most part, the draft rules.
It's where?
In our it hasn't left our division as far or the department in terms of the final version. 21 was actually the one that was kind of stalled because of the two potential options. One was to include a cultural managed area within the draft rules and reg.
But you have a law that's very clear on the scope of these,
Sure.
the scope of the rules and regulations. Do you think you've gone outside of what the law requires and trying to solve this very controversial problem at your department level? I mean, wouldn't the most easiest thing for you to do, director, from your department, is comply with the law, transmit the rules and regulations? That's after you've had a public hearing, and then have that transmitted to the legislature,
Sure.
and then the legislature would also have its series of public hearings to see if this is really what the community wants.
Yeah.
You've kind of put the whole thing in limbo and created this holding pattern where you put out a version, then someone opposes, then you try to do another version to respond to that opposition, and then someone else opposes,
Sure.
and then and then 21 versions later, 6 years later,
We're
you're
still not
still in the
You
same
know,
situation.
yeah.
And before we go any
Sorry.
further, I want to recognize Vice Speaker Ted Nelson, who is the one who was instrumental in asking for this status hearing, because our community can't take it anymore in terms of the inaction on behalf of the department. And so we want this status hearing so you have an opportunity to convey how difficult it has been to put these rules and regs together.
Yeah, yeah. It
Didn't at one point the Attorney General also said that this law was not unconstitutional because it's they took a position, right, on Goddard's law?
I think their if I recall their statement towards to us was that the rules and regs had to be developed and basically to determine whether or not I guess what it is the rules and regulations would determine whether or not it was or was not discriminatory. It's basically what it was. We have draft rules, and we could move forward with that. Basically, is what. And I think, as you say, it'll be up to the legislature when they do when you do the public hearings, whether or not it is or is not within the sort of like conveyance or agreement with
but the rules and regs have to be in accordance with the spirit of the law. There was one version where your rules and regs showed that the fishermen had to have the indigenous fishing practices and the sling, right, the sling stone, and then the thread had to be of certain I mean, I know that some people will testify to that, but Tino, that's kind of what set everybody off in the wrong direction when there was a draft rules and regs that came out that said, okay, you want to have indigenous fishing, you're going to have indigenous fishing practices, and that's what are the.
I understand. I guess the more traditional, because basically with the MPAs, we're opening those for seasonal fishing, and for the most part, those actually entail talaja is the main method of take. There's rod and reel or hook and line when EE, TL are running in good numbers. Those are some of the take methods that are entailed. And notwithstanding the other techniques that are very much more traditional in its methodology, the take for probably for the most part will be through those methods, and those are in there as well. I guess it's not exclusionary. In other words, the take of all the other traditional methods mentioned are in there, but the fact is that talaja and hook and line are probably going to be the methods that most folks will be using for take. Yeah.
But what iteration was it where you actually wanted the traditional? I mean, the material had to be.
I think that was that a previous one? Yeah, I think that was a previous version. And I agree with you. That was probably very unrealistic.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
I guess what it is that in our quest to try and figure out the traditional, we kind of went back a little too far in terms of the historic methods that were probably used. I
believe that's when Trini Torres threatened to also wear traditional clothing.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be. Sure.
And that caused you to change the version right away.
There you go. I guess more realistically, the hook and line and talaja are probably going to be the methods that.
Where is this 2021, the 21st iteration at?
We have a portion here. Probably what it is that it's going to fit in on Title IX, which is the fishing regulations. Is it Title IX? Yeah, Title IX. And it's mainly the articles under, there are definitions in the GAR.
When was the last time you touched that version?
This one has a date of May of 2012. Yeah. And I think after this was the...
May 2012.
Yeah.
What happened over the last 2 years from that May 2012 to today?
I think what was going on was the possibility that maybe a community-based management program or plan was an option was a way to deal with address the indigenous fishing and yet maintain some of the management within the area and the Molesto area. And mainly this is for the Molesto area.
I'm going to give you an opportunity, either of you three, to give an overview of what that version looks like.
Okay,
and then when
sure.
you're done, I'm going to start calling up the people to testify.
Sure.
I want to be clear that
Sure.
the debate should not be whether or not we should have this law. It's already law.
Sure.
So I don't want to spend the whole night hearing how important it is to have indigenous fishing rights. Ladies and gentlemen, we're all on the same page. All we want to do is follow the law, all right?
Okay.
And so if someone does not agree with the law, then your testimony should be repeal the law, right? Because that's what our goal is. But to have, and I'm sure the people that are going to testify will probably testify all night how we need to have this law implemented,
Sure.
right? So I want to make sure that we begin this status hearing on that basis of understanding that I think for the most part we're all in agreement. The challenge is how do we get you, Director, to move forward. You've had this thing for 2 years now, and I just want to know what your challenges are. I want to know what happened over the last, we know what happened over the last 6 years, that you had to have 21 different versions, but you seem to be okay with this current version, that you didn't have any other version after the 21st version.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's hear a little bit about what that version looks like, and so when people are going to have an opportunity to testify, maybe they can testify about the 21st iteration. Director, are you prepared to give an overview of what the...
No, the reason why the delay was made because of the fact that we were looking into the Mauricio Community-Based Management Program as an alternate project, and for an alternate project of the Guam Indigenous Fishing Rights Rules and Regulation as mandated in Public Law 29-127. We sought assistance from the WestPac, Western Pacific Fishery Council Management. The Guam Department of Agriculture wanted to see how the community-based preserve in Hawaii are handling the issue of indigenous fishing activities, because it's a little bit complicated, so that we can learn from their experience. As a result of the U.S. Supreme Court decision, Cayetano vs. Rice, Hawaii went through the same problem with indigenous fishing right with the native Hawaiians. Because of the federal laws and state laws regarding race discrimination, the Hawaiian took on the issue and came up with this alternative program. So that's the reason why we're delayed, because we're trying to see, whether it will fit into Guam also as well, and it will not alter our federal mandate or federal programs. Legislation was enacted on about 1990 to grant the Hawaii Department of Land and Natural Resources the authority to designate community-based subsistence fishing areas and to carry out fishery management strategy for such areas by adopting administrative rules and regulations for the purpose of reaffirming and protecting fishing practices customarily and traditionally exercised for the purpose of native Hawaiian subsistence, culture, and religion. With Westpac staff, providing us the assistance and guidance, it was suggested that we work with the mayor of Guam by giving them the authority to manage our marine preserve areas, such as the MPAs on Guam, in close collaboration with the Division of Aquatic Wildlife in the Department of Agriculture. For example, we can work with the mayor of Mauricio and Piti and give them the responsibility of managing the MPAs. And then the mayors will be the one issuing permits to those who wants to fish in the MPAs. DAR will be only responsible for the data collection and enforcing of the fishing law. So every year, who knows in one of the rules and regs that they would open the MPAs for limited fishing when they do have special occasions such as the fiestas or annual celebration. So that was a little bit the whole up of implementing the rules and regs that are mandated by the law. But because of this, we were legal studying. It's a tedious and long process that we have to work with. So for that reason, but like I say, we will get into it as soon as we are done with this issue or study, and get on our to put it out the last draft that we have.
The law is very specific that it calls on your department to seek input and consult with the Indigenous Native Resources Task Force, which shall be comprised of 10 voting members, 4 men, 4 women, and 2 youth of adult age, all of Chamorro ancestry. The task force shall be comprised with 1 representative each elected from no more than 10 Chamorro grassroots organizations. Each task force member shall be a resident of Guam for at least 5 years, and the task force shall participate together with the Department of Agriculture in the formulation of the rules and regulations required by this section. What is the status of this Indigenous Native Resources Task Force?
Jay, you want to go for that one?
So the point as envisioned by Senator Guthers in the creation of this law is that your department should not work in a vacuum, and that you should work with stakeholders of the community, and you shall be guided by the Indigenous Native Resources Task Force. Does this task force exist today?
It does not.
It does not?
What happened was that we did send out a public announcement early in the process to establish that. Unfortunately, what happened was the members that were part of that eventually decided not to participate. So at that point, we were basically left to go on our own. What year was that, Jay? Do you recall? Yeah. So
maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah. So it must
a
have
year or
been-
two ago.
Don't you think that, Director, if you convened this Indigenous Native Resource Task Force and have all these 10 voting members, don't you think this gives you the support that you need administratively to move forward on any versions of those rules and regs? Like, you convene the task force, you get a quorum, you have a meeting, you present this 21st version to them. If they agree, then you have a public hearing, and you move forward in the AAA process. The fact that you're not involving members of the community in the formulation of these rules and regs is, as a result, you're getting all this pushback from the very people who want to see this thing done. So, do you think, Director, it's possible that we can go back to the drawing board and find 10 members of the community who fit this qualification, and you use this task force as your brain trust in order to move forward?
Yes, definitely. When I first got in, we did have, some of the task force were meeting together, and then I don't know, after a while, we go for a meeting, then nobody shows up, and we end, like I say, we try to figure it out how to come up with some solution to the rules and regs.
Because this law is not even requiring that these members be appointed by the governor, confirmed by the legislature. We don't want to be that cumbersome, right? Or that bureaucratic, and so you just open it up for people who are interested, who fit this criteria. You get them recognized, and if there's more than 10, they figure out who would be the 10 voting members. If there's more than 4 men, more than 4 women, or more than 2 young adults, then you figure out which of the 10 are going to be voting members. But you can deal with more than 10 people in that group. And
in fact, there's already, this task force that was developed long time ago. Mr. Joe Garrido, Jason Biggs, Jesse Cruz, Mark Charfruz, Josephine, Evangeline Lujan, Antoinette, and
I think we can, when we hear from other members of the public, they probably give us an idea of why this task force didn't work. And maybe it's a good opportunity to renew commitments tonight. Okay. Do you want to give an overview of what the 21st iteration looks like, or can we start hearing? Okay.
We could either.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to ask Jay Gutierrez to...
Well, this version, the draft 21, it includes culturally managed areas, or CMA, which are areas outside the marine preserves that would enable the Chamorro people of Guam, as stated in Public Law 29127, to restore, preserve, develop, promote, and perpetuate sustainable traditional practices and methods. There's some definitions in there that include harvest, free diving, lagua, motorized use of crafts, nets, some powered reels, things like that. But basically what it is, it's basically forming a culturally managed area, basically to restore and address offshore and inshore fishing practice rights to those persons, individuals, as stated in Public Law 29-127. One of the areas that we looked at was the Adelup-Assen area, the boundaries from Adelup Pipeline to the Governor's Office, at the Governor's Office to Assen Point Pipeline. We had some rules for the culturally managed areas that include such as free diving, hook and line, cast netting, purse seining, lagua nets, surround nets, hook and line, hook and line and spearing, gleaning, hand collecting. Then some of the things that states that the director from time to time shall determine the need to close and open these areas as needed. The CMAs shall be marked with boundary markers and signage, and basically the regulations would go into effect 6 months after the regulations are passed. And the department will educate the public about the CMAs prior to implementation.
Okay, so it's safe to say that that iteration did not go through the Indigenous Native Resources Task Force, because the task force doesn't exist.
Yes, they got a copy of this.
But was that adopted by the task force?
I believe they got a copy for review, but I don't believe that it was adopted.
Were they consulted? Because the law says at all stages of development of the rules, the department shall seek the input of and consult with the Indigenous Native Resource Task Force.
Well, there was, how many task force did we have? Yeah, well, there was, I guess, different task force, and I guess the first task force received this copy. And the second task force that were meeting, I think, 2 years ago, we also gave them a copy of this.
So Jay,
version.
so that was not adopted by the task force.
I don't think we got any input.
Input in that regard. So yeah.
So you got no input at all. They received a copy of it, but no feedback.
Yeah. I don't recall getting any feedback.
From the second task force? No.
Yeah.
No, I'm just talking about the
Yeah.
21st.
Yeah.
No, not with the 21st version.
iteration.
Yeah, we could go back. I mean, we could do that as in the
Okay.
and go from there.
Okay.
But I guess the other side of that coin is that potentially a 22nd version could come up, and I mean, if the task force is there and they're doing it, then I guess that will be the way to do it. Yeah.
Well, if you did this pursuant to law and the framework that's established by law, at least you're going to get buy-in once this thing is transmitted to the legislature. You can come up with so many iterations, but once it comes to the legislature, if your core group does not support it, then it's not going to get the support, right?
Yeah.
So I think the idea with this law was to have buy-in from the very beginning. Okay. Can we just, Director, thank you. Can you just stay back? And I'm going to call some. Oh, I'm sorry, you have a question. Let me ask the Vice Speaker if he has questions.
How long ago was this 21st iteration completed?
2 years ago.
Yeah, 2012.
And nothing has come of it since.
This version didn't move forward, as the director had said. We were looking at another alternative as to the indigenous fishing, law to do. regarding culturally managed areas.
Senator Yamashita.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So the CMA or the culturally managed, for some reason, would that have voided the law? I'm kind of confused as to why, even if we succeeded in doing that in Molesso, the thought is that we wouldn't have to do this. I mean, am I not reading something right? But I'm thinking if that, initiative went through, then it did, but we would still have to abide by the law, I think. Not I think, I know.
Yeah.
And so, I just, you probably know best about why people didn't come back. And so I think then you think about how to ensure that people do come back. Because again, the law is very clear that the table has to be complete with these representatives,
Sure.
right? And stuff, so.
Can you answer her question? Her question is, even if you went forward with the culturally managed areas, don't you think you still have to do rules and regs to follow the law?
The rules and regs would incorporate the culturally managed areas would basically follow along that line, and allow for the culturally managed or culturally based fishing methods. Basically, is what it would be. Yeah.
Well, so it sounds to me like the CMA initiative didn't move, or it's stalled, and now this is in front of us, and I'm thinking that we were going to move forward. The director already said that we were going to move forward, and invite people back to the table and review the 21st. You start with that. You can start with that,
Sure.
and then just get the buy-in, and then hopefully we just proceed with the adjudication process. I mean, you've gotten all that work. You just have to get the buy-in and move forward, right?
Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Can you just stay back and listen to the testimony, and if there's any questions, you can help us answer. You want to stay? You can stay at the table. So we. Well, it's encouraging that you don't want to leave the table. No. I'm very encouraged that you want to stay. Thank you, Director. Yeah. Okay, we'd like to invite up the first one to sign in to testify, Magalahan Pagat, Saina Ofing, Miss Rose Taitino. Oh. Okay, we can have 3. Okay, yeah.
Today, Honorable Senator Rory Respicio, Senator Yamashita, and Senator Vizicruz. Unggan, guau si Danny Jackson, magalahi ki Nation tomorrow. Guau mafanan si Pagat. On this one, the bay, I mean, gay gitu gini na para pe husangan. Na esta fishing rights na reglamento. Está overdue. 5 months, 5 years and 6 months. Datatadaan ni apafa matutugwi. Ang ginhumano ito para tayo imbestiga, ito ato hungog rules or afagwi ito President number 1, 21 last draft. Man po sa stesti agagang ki gosmigay para pe usangan senator dantis di pe hutum pe hu dandana fanesti para na alma esti na dandan ki message dokumento gini ni gai po gonora on ratu ta da tana opana esti Maano sa dun para Department of Agriculture doon na figura
Joe, move it over.
Todo sinya hita chokui sai tano 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 imanyai nata tapago di sinya tapacai qui honta apresu pun manyohan I look quick ako ni ke taloza hey sa pubido talo pumesta Provido 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 Islota Provido 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 Islota
Pues papena kabali sa testimoni ni Pak Gun na puengi managu na para peta famanogi data sogi obligation ta. Bila tu da por favor da infana bandera data tutuhuna panogi tamoro purita nota kantai matunanya ito duilugan para ora para gloria abiba isla sempala para ora para gloria abiba isla sempala todo y tempo y paz para hita dangin ginilangit na bendisyon contra peligro na pasyapuhan dos proteis languan contra peligro na pasyapuhan dos proteis languan Pues Senator, anticipation of mesti malago pa usangan na estas ti rules and regulation overdue guiantas ti tanotas ti dangin ti tatsogo esti data parte pagunahata man kripo ifa magunta posita ni manena manga obligation na data parte esti Department of Agriculture tada alegramento niya gini para po alegrahit ki itasita ni patafan mamiska sana masi o gaidamdo
Sana masi dan si Jus masi laki. Okay. Hago
After
Pago.
Senator Respicio, Chairman and members of the Committee on the Rules, Federal and Foreign and Micronesian Affairs, Human and Natural Resources, and Election Reform. My name is Josephine Jackson of Pagat, Manila. Thank you for allowing me to submit my presentation to the committee. Let me begin by noting the events leading up to Public Law 29-127. Pacific Daily News stated 12/13/07 with the photo. Protesters coughed in Tuman. Nation Chamorro wants fishing restrictions removed. 2. Pacific Daily News, August 1st, 2008 reads, hearing draws supporters opposition. Bill 27 lasted about 8 hours. Quote from Senator Judith Guthers at the 8-hour public hearing. Not one witness testified against providing special rights to a particular group. The opposition to the bill was from advocates and the preserves. None of them were against indigenous rights, but they did not want them inside the preserves. 3. Marianas 6:11. Chamorro activists demanded fishing rights, met with Chief of Staff George Bamba. Nothing happened. We just went up there, we took, that was it. And then it got down, Marianas 7/4/2008. Activists protest violation of fishing rights. And then this November 10, 2008, sorry, with the photo, it goes here. Special rights can coexist with preserves. And in the back. Marianas Variety, the same month, the same date, Chamorros truly understand preservation by Rory Leon Guerrero. And then it came down to November 27, 2008 reads, Governor Camacho, Bill 327 inadequate for task force. The bill will be jeopardize millions of dollars in federal fundings. And then the bottom it says, Marianas, same date, Camacho vetoes fishing rights. And then on the 11th, Pacific Daily News, fishing bills debated at hearing. And then number 8, it says, Senators overrides governor's veto to indigenous fishing rights. Bill 327 became public law 29/127. Marianas Variety, dated December 13, 2012 reads, protest fights for indigenous fishing rights. And then on the 10th, Marianas Variety, January 4th, 2013 reads, protection of Chamorro indigenous fishing rights pushed. 4 years after passage of law, drafts rules not yet submitted. 11, Marianas Variety, dated 12/13/13, fishing rights protest at Matapang. Marianas Variety, dated Monday, February 15, 2013 reads, Department of Agriculture slammed for failing to act on indigenous fishing rights. Judy Cuthert, in her capacity of senator in 2009, has stated that the Department of Agriculture is in violation of Public Law 29/127. They had gone beyond the time frame given in this law. Senators, yes, I was part of the task force. I came in here, we had a roundtable meeting with Joe Torres. Rory, remember that? And I explained to myself why I don't want to get involved in this task force, because these people that were on the task force were against the bill when we were doing it for 8 hours. And their members was Joe Garrido. Joe Garrido was not one of them. Mark Chartfrost was never there. I was there, but I wasn't comfortable with these other people. Danny Pangilinan pulled himself out, and there's one vacant. But when we had our own meeting at my house, we did come out with rules and regulations. We passed it out. We gave it to the senators back in 2009. I don't know if you remember this, Senator Rory.
I do.
But we did it, and we did it on the 24th, a day before the time limit. And the task force, we had four men, 4 women. Jason Biggs, Tassi, Joe Chaga, Para, Paga, Danny Jackson, Colonized Chamorro Coalition, Maganite, Howard Hemsing, CCDRI, Offing Jackson, Tatomona Native Rights, Nevis Maternity, Parahita Resource, Abaros Titanfung, Fritzens Famala and Chamorro, Trini Torres, Nationalist Movement of Independence of Guam. The 2 young adults were Jerry Mary Cepeda Finilaan and Danny Pangilinan Chamorro crafters. We did our thing that night. It lasted us about 5 days, 6 days, Trini? 2 weeks to do this rules and regulations in my place up in Pagat and Manila, and we did turn it in to you guys, but I don't know what happened. And then, yes, I got called from Tita to come pick up the rules and regulation 21, draft 21, and I was reading it. How come it was on May 24, 2012, but I received it 2013 from Tino Agan. I saw you that day. Yeah. And I was looking to it. I was reading through it, and there's a problem here. CMA, culturally managed areas. Why only one place where we're going to put the Chamorros for fishing, and there are 5 preserves? Something's wrong with this picture. Something is terribly, terribly wrong. Why are they going to put us over there, Isagantaki, over there, to fish? That is not right. That is not right. We don't want that. That's not ours. And then they have the CMA, culturally managed areas, and she said, and they said that the director can relocate or rotate, but they didn't put down where are the other CMA. There's nothing. It just says boundaries from Adelup Pipeline at Governor's Office to Aston Point. Are they going to say, oh, you guys fish at Adelup for 6 months, and then the other 6 months down at Aston? Come on, something's wrong. You know, this is not right. And that hook that you are saying, Senator Respicio,
I remember that.
they were going to use, Jason Biggs came up with that idea to use the bone of our ancestors to do the fish hook. Oh boy, I was so pissed off. I am not going to go and ungrave my ancestors to use their bones for fish hook. That was a long time ago. This is now. But we said this time we can use the modern technology. Why do we have to go back thousands and thousands of years and go, like Trini said, just take off our clothes and go fishing, which they did.
Well, you heard Tino say earlier that they may have went too far, so.
Yeah, that's too far back.
Yeah.
And you know, nowadays our people now, there's plenty crafters who are making their own hooks out of, what's that bone? The soup bone. They're using that. Why do we have to use the human bones? And here's another one that I wanted to say. I know you said this, but this is to Mr. Paul Bassler back in March 17, 2009. Says the director, as you may be aware, Senator Ben Pangilinan publicly stated yesterday that his intent as the author of the amendment creating the advisory organization, which I have here, is that the grassroots organizations would appoint the membership, not the director of agriculture. And I got that right here. That he says, all stages of development of the rules, the department shall seek the input of and consult with the Indigenous Native Resources Task Force. And I just heard from them that the task force didn't meet for 2 years. So I want to know who wrote the rules and regulations on this draft. Because I know I wasn't in there. They called me up to ask if I want to be in this group. I said no. I told them, I said we had a roundtable meeting, and I told Judy Gutters why I didn't want to be on that group. So at that time, Joe Torrey said, okay, we'll change everything, but nothing happened. And then, it says, as clearly stated on June 2nd, 2009 to Mr. Bassler, the director, as clearly stated, Public Law 29-127, the program was intended to provide special fishing rights. I don't want to have any special fishing rights for Indigenous people, and not to emphasize the demonstration or teaching or traditional fishing methods. What are they trying to say? What? I don't want to go back to the pre-contact. Traditional refers to Kustrumbin Chamorro or Kutruan Chamorro, which are the customs and cultures to Guam's pre-World War II period. Traditional fishing in the Marianas refer to the 1st century or the 20th century. Come on. And then here's the last, before I stop, if I finish my thing. Judy Gotthard's, former Senator Judy Gotthard's head, on her letter to Mr. Basler, March 25th, 2009. These two are still here, Tino and Jay. Hence, he goes, before I said that, she said on her second paragraph, I also understand via media reports that Department of Agriculture will be requesting for an extension in the implementation of Public Law 29-127. How many times do they have to ask for extension, Rory? How many times, Senator Dispenza?
That's okay. Rory's my name.
How many times do they have to
Rory
ask for extension? 5.5 years, and they keep asking for extension. You know the extension can go around the island, and everybody's power will turn on if they keep asking for extension. Is that a fact true? If so, have you communicated your request with myself as sponsor of the original measure, Senator Rory Respicio, chair of the Legislative Committee on Natural Resources, or for that matter, any other senator? It would take an amendment to the current law to allow for an extension. Hence, as of March 23, 2009, the Department of Agriculture is in violation of Public Law 29-127. And Senator Respicio, and everybody back there, there's one thing I need to say. All my papers are all scattered.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely no rules and regulations under the U.S. federal laws and the government of Guam laws regarding fishing and harvesting of resources shall apply to the native chamorros of Guam. I do not want any rules and regulations to add to me to say, Ofing, you can go fish over there at Matapang, but this is the rules and regulations. I was born without that rules and regulations, senators, to go fishing. I do not want any rules and regulations. I do not want to go to the agriculture and get a permit or a license to go fishing. Let the people outsiders, let them get the rules. Let them put the rules for them and regulations. Give them limits. You know, tell them to go and up to agriculture and get a permit or license to go fishing on our ocean. This is way too much. What we're only asking, senators, is to go fishing for our table. On Father's Day's weekend, we went fishing. My family, we went fishing with some of our friends. We went to the back. It's Ladera. That's the only place I know I can go fishing. But we caught fish. But it's so rough back there. I know Senator Pangilinan told Pogat Dan, you know where to fish, right? So to top it off, we went fishing. Yes, my kids, I had my grandson, who is 12 years old right now, Kason Jackson, was held on his neck way back in 2009. He was only 5 years old. They held him on the neck just because he touched the fish net. Officer Ray just turned around and goes, take that little boy there also. He's a criminal for touching that fish net in the water. I want him arrested. I looked at him and I go, what? And my grandson started crying, and they put him in the truck, and he was so cold, and he was using sadi and no shirt. So my friend took a shirt and gave it to us. Boobing was a witness, and T. Rose was a witness when that thing happened. They took my grandson, and they said, arrest him, because he violated the law. And I said, you know, I'm teaching him how to go fishing. This is the only place I can teach him. I am not going to take him back there to the ladera or to masasangan no peligro na banda. Peligro na banda po from Mescal from Magun, because I am not going to take my kids or my grandchildren and teach them to fish there in the dangerous area. No, I cannot. So that is my testimony for today and tonight. And I just want to find out, you know, their draft, boy, since 2000 and what? This time I left out 2 years ago. Come on, people. And you know what? Statute limitation is over. It's been 5.5 years since Public Law 2927 has been passed. esta pago na ora. Ang gimbinhano bi pesca papa matapang zaman matis conservation officer pamapreso jo. Jabi sangani hamju ni sita mamapreso. Sa hamju jo mama kilay ay to hami. Sana masini attention niyo.
Si Diyos Masyo. Did you get your talazza back before
No,
you?
no,
Yeah.
no.
Translator in court. They can't find the end of
They cannot find much. But
the case and they go, Ramorena throw the case out, but they never return
the fishnet.
the fishnet.
It's not a talaza, Rory.
The fishnet.
It's
I
a
mean,
fishnet,
I'm sorry.
It's not only the fishnet. There are a lot of people that have been confiscated their own fishing gears from Mauricio to Mun. And I've been requesting for the past 7 years, and I've been asking the Department of Agriculture that everything that they have taken away from the fishermen, return them back from boat, pickup, tintulu, gargos, fins, a spear gun, Hawaiian sling, tabi, and fins, and every others that they are using for their own fishnet. I guess the Department of Agriculture are budget from the federal government, but they cannot provide their own private tools, so they will repossess it from us and use it for their own. I think I will close for now and let the rest say their own.
Thank you, Si Diyos
Thank you.
Masyo. Yeah. Okay, Auntie Rose, you're recognized at this
Mighty.
time.
Half a day. My name is Rose Benavente Perez. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge Senator Rory Respicio, Chairman, committee members on rules, federal and foreign Micronesian affairs, human and natural resources, and election reform. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak. My question is, what is the purpose for the federal grant? What does it have to do with Public Law 29-127? As Josephine stated earlier, according to PDN, date November 27, 2008, Governor Camacho quoted the bill, that bill 327 could jeopardize millions of dollars in federal funding. How can this possible if Public Law 29-127? I understand that the grant is for fact finding. How could that possibly affect the Public Law 29-127? Yeah, that's your unanswered questions up in the air. Isn't it against the law to blackmail anyone in coercing them to go against something for the sake of money? Are government officials being coerced not to submit or pass certain laws? Public Law 29-127 specifically mentioned that the Constitution Convention approved the rights for Chamorros to fish, and so as the United States Congress. Hello? So how could it be against the rights to receive the money, the grants? Follow the law. Enforce it in the legal way, not illegally doing it behind closed door, which just frustrate us tomorrow because that's not our culture. Out in the open, our culture. We don't lie. Our culture, we follow. It's the right one. We started out cavemen, and guess where we're at? Being caved in. Thank you.
Thank you. Director, is it still your department's position that this law will jeopardize federal grants? Can you respond to her question?
The department, actually, there is no, actually, I like to qualify the remarks that Mrs. Paris Beneventino have mentioned. We do receive federally funding. Much of what we get, as far as law enforcement, that is actually a locally funded activity as far as our conservation officers. But for the most part, for actually 100% of our wildlife and fisheries programs are funded through the U.S. federal government through federal aid. We receive, in terms of different things related to fisheries, all of that is federally funded, and it's probably on an annual basis close to $800 to over $1 million in funding. Now the thing is we must qualify this. This pays for FADs, fishing aggregating devices that fishermen, locally fishermen, we probably have a lot of Chamorro fishermen that go out there and troll. In fact, the fishing aggregating devices are probably one of the more visible programs that we implement. That's close to several $100,000 to deploy. It's not a cheap endeavor, but we pay for that through those funding things. We also pay for monitoring. That's an activity, and actually probably quite a few of the local Chamorro residents are funded through that program to do those activities, and those are just monitoring.
I think her question was more specific. How would the establishment of indigenous fishing rights jeopardize all these federal grants that you receive?
The thing is that if it's related to discrimination, then that puts us in a bad yes. So basically what it is that it's really related to implementing policies that may be viewed as discriminatory. That's what it is.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Please.
In your initial testimony, you made mention of a letter from someone discussing that.
Yeah, that was Region 1. That was the regional director.
Can you provide the chair with a copy of that letter?
Sure. Yeah, I could do that.
And when you mention the FADs, how many are currently deployed?
Excuse me?
How many FADs are currently deployed?
What is that? That's 8. That's a 10. I think 10 to 12 FAD systems is usually what we try to maintain, right? Yeah, and those are.
No, I understand,
yeah.
but I thought in some previous correspondence I've had with you guys are grossly deficient in keeping that up.
It's not an easy task trying to keep that up.
And that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, sure.
Where are you guys currently with that program, and is it fully implemented, or how many are supposed to be out there under this grant, and how many do you have deployed?
Right now we have how many is actually deployed right now? 6?
6. What was the grant is to have how many?
6 are missing out of 18. Yeah.
Out of 18?
14. Yeah.
And how long have you guys been deficient?
Just to qualify the response, I think what it is that we rely on local.
You guys haven't been complying with you guys got a grant for 14. When was the last time you had 14?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, Senator, it's been a while since we hit 14. What has been going on, the costs for the FADs deployments have been going up every year, so we have to actually decrease the amount of deployments every year. So for this year, we're looking to deploy 3 FADs this year. We got the components at the beginning of the year. Right now, we're waiting for the funds to move to the certain object class so we can do the deployments.
You're saying that you cannot implement this law because of the fear of losing this grant that provides for the FADs. Have you been in compliance with your grant as it relates to the number of FADs you're out to have deployed?
Well, we've been in
has that
compliance
been
with
cut
the
back,
with the
or
objectives.
have you told the federal government that you've not been compliant with the number that you promised in the grant?
No, within the objectives, we have a certain number of FADs that we're going to deploy every year. So in the current grant, we have about 3 or 4 that we're going to deploy this year, not the whole 14, because it's based on the funding. And the funds for sport fish has been going down every year, actually. So, and the cost for the FAD deployments have actually been going up. So we have to reduce the number of deployments every year.
I think what it is that we allow for to rather than shoot ourselves in the foot in terms of the deployment of the flags, we usually aim for up to, and those are what we try to do. Basically, what it is that there's always a challenge of local vendor. If their ship or boat is available, whether that the systems are available at the time. So those are the challenges, I think.
I understand, Tino, but I mean, because we've had an exchange of letters on this issue because the fishermen jumped all over me about wanting to do certain things and kept saying, get the FADs out there.
Sure.
And so is it the implementation of this law that is causing you could cause you your grant?
Oh, no.
Or is it your inability to be able to get the requisite number of FADs deployed that's going to cost you this grant?
No. Yeah.
Is the federal government aware of the fact that you guys have not complied with the grant of the number that you're supposed to have out?
Well, it's not the 14 that within the grant objectives. We have a certain number that we're going to deploy every year. Like I said, we're deploying 3 this year, which is in the objectives. So it's only 3 FADs that we're going to deploy this year.
And have you?
We're in the process of doing it. We received the 4 or 5 FADs from one of the vendors on the island.
Did you meet your goal for last year?
No, there was a problem with GSA last year.
Did you meet your goal for the previous year?
The previous year, I think we did deployments.
Okay, because I mean, I have the correspondence with you guys on this, and I know that you guys have been grossly non-compliant. And to come in here and say that you're going to lose this grant for the FADs because of some perceived discriminatory law, when the problem is your own compliance with what your grant is supposed to be.
Just to clarify, the 14 that is mentioned, those are actually approved locations within the whole area of where we actually deploy. So those are approved sites with, they basically get those pre-approved before you could do anything in terms of that regard, and that's a requirement from the funders. So with the 14, basically what we try to do is get as many out as possibly we can. Thank you. In terms of what we can feasibly do in terms of what our vendors or companies can handle. And that's what we have to work with.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to call up Mr. John Diaz, Kathy McCullum. Is he no longer here? And Mr. Joaquin Rivera. Half-a-day.
Half-a-day, Senator Rory Respicio, Chairman and Committee members on Rules, Federal and Foreign, and Micronesian Affairs, Human and Natural Resources, and Election Reform. My name is Catherine Flores McCullum. Thank you for allowing me this time to submit my testimony in favor of Chamorro fishing rights. Mr. John Diaz was supposed to give you the definition that is used in Public Law 29-127. This is the Chamorro people, the indigenous people of Guam, are defined in Title I GCA subsection 2102 as those persons who became U.S. citizens by virtue of the authority and enactment of the 1950 Organic Act of Guam and descendants of those persons. 5 years is a long time to hold on to rules and regulations. I recommend that since these years have gone by with no result in its path, to kill the rules and regulations and have a simple rule drafted by Senator Respicio and the committee as such. If an individual is found fishing in any area, whether it's preserved or not, in the surrounding areas of Guam, the officer should ask the individual, "Are you Chamorro according to the Organic Act of Guam or as stated in the law that I just read to you?" If the individual answers yes, an ID, in parentheses, an ID may be required to assure Chamorro. Then the officer is to move on. If the individual answers no, the individual is told to proceed to the Department of Agriculture to acquire a license to fish or harvest and be shown by the Department of Agriculture areas restricted to fishing or harvesting, how much they can take, size, etc. Or even simpler, officer would say, "Do you have a license to fish or harvest?" The individual, "I am Chamorro. I am fishing to provide food for my table." That's it. Any individual found fishing, harvesting, and selling their catch should have a license to sell regardless if Chamorro or not. The sale of fish or other harvested shellfish is prohibited and not part of Public Law 29-127. The public law is only to catch food to feed the family. Flotation devices, motored or not, should not be allowed in preserved areas. Swimming, using lotions, should also be prohibited from preserved areas. Senators, if a license is required to individuals other than Chamorros, it would generate income for Department of Agriculture. A license from Department of Revenue and Taxation is required to all individuals to sell ocean-caught fish or shellfish commercially or by the side of the road. I don't understand why these people are selling fish and holding up octopus by the road. And I'd never see a conservation officer there to ask them. All conservation officers should question individuals who sell their catch. Keep the law simple. We should not be told as to where we can or cannot fish. There are too many preserves out there, and what is left for the Chamorros are dangerous regions. We cannot overfish if it is only to provide food, but we can overfish if it is for commercial. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we please make sure we have a copy of your testimony? Yes. And we'll make a copy. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Rivera.
Half a day. My name is Senators. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Joaquin Rivera, and I'm from the village of Barrigada. I am also a Chamorro as identified by the 1950 Organic Act of Guam. I am here to support the indigenous fishing right of Guam, but not the rules and regulation, draft 21, made by the Department of Agriculture. I like the indigenous fishing rights, Public Law 29-127, that the legislature override on December 2008. These rights allows the Chamorro here on Guam to carry on the tradition of fishing, to put food on the table, and to embrace our culture. As a fisherman, I grew up learning the traditional method of fishing like etukcha, talaja, tekin, chinchulu, and sulo, just to name a few. My family and I enjoy fishing together as a means of putting food on the table at home and to share with our extended family. I want to briefly remind the public that their fishing rights were originally discriminated from the Chamorro from fishing inside and outside of the reef by the Spaniards and the American Naval Administration as mentioned in Public Law 29-127. Public Law 29-127, Indigenous Fishing Right, tasked the Department of Agriculture to submit rules and regulations as part of the fishing rights to be completed within 90 days from December 22nd, 2008. Instead, they created a draft 21 dated May 24, 2012, which is about 4 years later. After the task was made, I do not like this draft 21. I do not support the draft because it designates a cultural managed area, CMA, for the Chamorros to fish. I would like to see the Chamorro to fish in the marine preserve. Why establish a cultural managed area for the Chamorro when we are presently fishing outside of the marine preserve without any restriction? This is another discrimination against the Chamorro by allowing the Gumanians, these are other than the Chamorros, to fish anywhere outside the marine preserve. And this draft 21 fishing regulation, chapter 12, is controlling the Chamorro to fish only in the cultural managed area from Adelup to Asan. In my opinion, the establishment of the cultural managed area should be changed, and the Chamorro should fish and allowed to fish in the preserve area. Thank you.
Thank you. Si Jusmazi.
My name is Vicente Garrido. I'm here to testify regarding this fishing right law. I'm not surprised there's only 3 of you here. I'm not surprised. I was expecting that all 15 senators should be here. So I assume that this is not really an important matter about this issue that we're facing now up to this date. Since the date that this law was passed back 5-6 years ago. Klaro sa nagagang, todos tayo man testigo gini, por este diritsota por patapameskan este ginigi tasita. Magahit 5 pat 6 años tati na tempo, didi na mapatinas estinalay, da mapas, gaya ma-override ni 15 na senador. Manmanaye senador, amin ni Departamento ng Agrikultura, 90 días, 90 days to submit rules and regulation. Manmanaye, 90 días po ma-entrega y reglamento ni po mapatinas por este fishing right. ¿Cuántos días pago di edso na tempo? Ano man manay 90 días. Kana 2,000 días. Almost 2,000 days ago, they were giving to submit the rules and regulations. Dasta pago tababasala talaposta sa talza a reglamento patapamiska. Ambig atsun Departamento na anjo ni Agrikultura na jangin timan malagwan jo kusangan niya na tinsupotis ni tinsupotti lala na ni namamalaw gusti is a cry shame. 5 to 6 years ago, and we're here trying to find out what's going on with our fishing rights law. In reality, I don't need no fishing rights. This is my homeland. I should be able to go out there and fish at any time I want. I don't need no license. I don't need no license. And to be honest with you, the people that should be here is not us. Non-Chamorro should be here. And then this law should be applied to them, like Opin said. Tintanisitam be? Sapa na ba nisita? Ito ti man Chamorro ni man matumagin na man mipiskal mana man malago. Ito no, debi ni gwa dunia lie. Ita, we don't need no lie to go piskatso. Lana da la 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 pa ako si Chief Rao. If Chief Rao is alive today, we probably have a war right now. It's probably going to be longer than how many? 22 years Spanish Chamorro War. This is going to be thousands of years Chamorro War on fishing rights. Na mamalolay. Lanap. Maski 2000 días di naman manai agriculturan departamento 90 días. Best they think about it and get pissed off again, eh? Because when we were scheduled to have a public hearing last week, they asked for another extension, 7 more days. When they already passed 2,000 days. Apalay, respeto para ako, direktor, ng tawag ako, senyor. Ugay zo. Respeto ko opinion ni mga eksita gini na sa managwinita, ambi. Managwinita ni Chamorro. Lo, matuchinas tigi sa gwalay ti manungyo, nisti pa be, babasalat talapusunay. Lani gatso. Wow. It's the todos this year. And what's also is that the task force, they submitted rules and regulation for the fishing. And it was signed by former director, no? Yes. Why don't they just copy it and make it? If they cannot do it, copy the one that the task force did and let's implement it and get it over with. And then we shouldn't be here tonight. We shouldn't be here. Really, we shouldn't be here tonight. Yeah, this is enough, yeah. Right. You got everything, man. You got everything under control. At least we know who we are once this Indigenous rights rules accepted by the Department of Agriculture. At least we know that we are really Chamorro, man. Not Chamorro. Sesta siya lamon, gua dunia lai. Lo apa lemon? Manungyo lai nesti lana. Tunggu apa lai? Edi Chamorro sti todos siya ne? Si Trini dan todos siya, right? Dan mangkat songta. Ti megay kita kami man may duka. Lo di man gaya gyulo. Educated Chamorro. Educated Chamorro gatsun lo kami lo Chamorro ilay rules and regulation. Ay agan Mr. Kirugan ay, you know, por respeto a este senyor. Todos siya lai. Ano, equipamente, hopefully like Mr. Kirugan, Mrs. Taitagwe, I hope that you're not going to retire tomorrow, and then we could forget about this. So, balik este todo testigo danan ti megay afa besangan seta todo megay man masangan. No matugi dangkulo na diskriminasyon esta esti tagini tani man Chamorro. Matugi dangkulo sta. Toda esta razón para pangagiga gini lana tag. Esta paugo ta babasala tal posta por the war repression. Esta paugo ta babasala tal posta por the political status. Paugo para babasala tal posta por the fishing rights. Apa gatso titina para babasala tal posta gini. Estas afirma Cathy, but no, si no rivera don todo eso. Por favor, director, fa presionando, que por respeto na banda. Ta panafamalik na ayagon. Ti por chalik na kumikiso ta ginilo. Angin manggagan juga position na banda. So comprende lai. I understand. Daging todo do jule manggaga kultur pura manapka na. Okay? Pura manapka apa kayak kesangan gini, I could understand all the people of that farming culture, all Americans that are working up there, and they oppose this. I could understand that. Lolana majority dan man samulong kayak gino. Tidak ada problema sila, tidak ada problema sila, na problema. Postada mas, angin esta na if it's too hard for the Department of Culture to come up with some kind of rules and regulation, then go ahead and copy what we have from the task force and let's get it implemented. And no problem. Let it get implemented. And I heard the question earlier about the officer grant. What is grant got to do with me going fishing down at the Mano Gazy preserve pa todos siya. I can understand but it's sumido na penputin todos siya. Lola na gatsong mano mas importante na taputei ko tirata pa taputei sa lapin iti malago majudan. Adige na ipunto kay kisangan ko ini. Was tada mas may sangan malafan sa mana naman dekta na mga kintusin na manita lo ay mandadan niya ilo ti manita pos malada tana siguro pa una biana manita da mandadan niya it.
Just a question. I overheard him mentioning about a regional director. He had to check with the regional director. I thought already the directors are on this table. Who's the regional director?
The regional director that I'm referring to is the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services.
Oh Lord,
director.
here we go.
Yeah.
Okay, now you got me. You got my attention.
Sure.
Okay.
And I'm sure everyone's.
I want you to
commenting in that
know
regard.
Public Law 23 somebody bring him Public Law 23-24, please. It says that you are not to have any cooperative agreement with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, especially when it pertains to Ritidian. You are not to have, and you are breaking the law if you do.
That it's
Please
not
bring him Public Law 23-24, that he should have in front of him, and he should know that law by heart. Thank you.
Wait, before, let me okay, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you for question.
Is Talajero here? I don't see him. Johnny Siguenza? John Flores? Mr. Okay. Uncle John. Fayed already went. Uncle Bobing Wolford?
Senador dan Senadora, gwaho si Juan Martinez Flores spent some
dispensado neste ikumo hafa na tigwini na klase kumakatizo ahit ti para amin yun no ti para unafan maasyam zo ahit na guaha pinititiw kwini senidot si PJ Cruz and sinidot no Respicio and hagulo kwe no sainaho no ayamasita si dos masi no nalawham gwini para ben sangan i dipursi in sangan no guaho si Juan Flores Juan Martinez Flores mafanyago na kanya zo lo mapoksay zo litegjan pes guaho lo que i pumatitikis ti Indigenous rights para i Chamorro alok pino ben hafat zo na para bay o hano da bay panaluigaw no permission guato gwini lo Chamorro zo ang biyaday por favor you know guaho ti pipis ka zo me eto pa ka zo unggan ezgi no zo umahamen si parinkin thank you mahamen si parinkin kin Rivera pumiskan ni ji Radan Rio dataza kineni mama mina jai i an matu zo siya na tempo manuhuzo ngam zaman me eto pa kam lo taza de na in kana i pesadot ay agon taza ning kanay pesadot lo pago na tempo gigo na guaha hafa na pinamutong makana ang sige na si pesadot sa adzigwin di po si man bibindi pues anyway agon para hafa di tapuni para hafa di berit sa gugu atalo guaha no faisinzo nisti na question am I an indigenous people? Am I a wildlife apa itu maalok indigenous species? Am I an endangered species? Sesu faisin zo nezo da todo dos siya para be faisin na alokwe. Are you an endangered species? Sige. Hami di putsi, we are the ones that are endangered species. Tano mami di matsuli. Ayagon. Unggan man na pinitito siya. Sa kada usangan isi, anahasudzo. Iti man, iti inanahubiha. Itatahubiho. Niya litigzan. Unggan agon. At sige, siya muna pininitizo. Pues, hafatalo. Malago niya i-fish and wildlife people. Ha? Para beben mufam ba uuzong wihi. Beben panyaga ki mano. Para ben leave behind izun mommy memory. No way, karambot. You know. Tisinya no napatatsogwi. Por favor, hengi ano. Pues at taza pas pabaisangan gwini na adzay pabaisangan yam zo na tres si dos masi ni itimpon mizo gwini si dos masi dangkulo na si dos masi si dos simpang binindisi. Thank you.
Si dos masi.
Buenas noches, Andona 3. Guau si Bobby Wofford, tau-tau-talupupu doon na lugar na sa masagaw na pati, talupupu ki Wofford House, adi bilito kau dali niya, dos waka, kuwat kika lagi mana di pibu. Buenas noches ako, Señor West, Vice Speaker BJ Cruz, Subinuo, Damela da tapan afamoling na puingi. Sa gobdos ti mungi na di patabatanggam gay talaposta. Menandur sa talapos dem yung pasordia alokwi. Danago Respicio Subino Baba Fanina Sunmido na paingi mungkin na di patafan asadia Departamento Nagrikultura apa tita na sigain na ayam problema ang tapaisin nandu ang batapaisin nandu patafan na agot kone tada mudung manutugi ambi disangkal soda ambi tita mantamorit hago americano goro ke mistisyon americano do daleo na mantenay mamaloan do hago lo ke senyora do ayun yamasita good evening be song na gifino tamorezi good evening buenas noches para hago silos dosto udah sekcia kita hamdulillah por favor pangalamtin na tanakalamtin esti fishing right itasi tata gaya do 22 kwa lo munga na pata panatot gisa itaw-taw na itaw-taw gom manlaw lagi gihinano pra esti taladero ni manahono po mapiskaw di familia da isip na masyaw mabendi lo mga de mabendio no ya o dabe sangonia si BJ Cruz na peba ano ko Respicio ayun na masita ay you very maganda I love you with all the BJ Cruz Subino ano natanin mga ginelon tatagit mulai na gana ba ini luluan mo Sapa? Hamzo ni tau tagi kultura basta ni pensegwe di pen manteni di paggundo den in batang ka hulu ke kareta sta situini mahon kaf dari hamzo pwede manono do po paktes gi pohon mangunik yan lo tau dam konik yan ne di man makonyo lo mi yan niya man mababasalay pa mag-uun ko lang kalago mantay mamalomido tiga lawang bedo to titay fa maguon ispiye to tam don imbestiga hafa nam tema fa mamuli kasi pofan mago tiay fa magundo fa mabatanggang galago ani man mabatatangga dale ando de sa luagi kultura tita bisang ono kada makto bitam lofonu tawza gwaka tao ra Carabao, tao ra Baboy, songkua. Lo sinya gua tiang kun merawana kisan takti. Kita tunggu ano. Lo handle na ini tao TV sa wildlife. Basta fan di man mamababa. Hulilia itaw tao medyo kikiraw 17. Eko apa bidan niya ko man mandis mamunta o man nangunguni. Da kita tutungo audit tingo sta matuli gua tigima. Jadi asuparais sige laulo alam todo ani kumahato wildlife tilu pumipis ka kita no za kamu so si kartada pesudanga gi baseuta utatitidia upunui kan detu tatitidia unai tempo pa foto gi ratna lo ti anana lo lungi agricultura binodo tutu mono nei mapege binodo edik fresegi banya sapa mafitada afade netina target gagi tanu mom itu gula binodo lo pahafa tu binodo sejegi lengas ta tau di funtu namunga mapuno e binodo sotto do fanalong di galot ani mamegu galot to quadro de tu misicolo e binodo ai tita don tanya masiku binodo benti magu fo ai akun tu kakasiolo mai godo telo tita gi graza na sokudena Palawan tu misicolo e binodo ganon tanya ceniku binodo go padayo sa dana manaka talanga BJ Cruz subino farmot sa mungkin patafan mama talo pusa kaya gonti ustad tanyan dulu Gaho na malong doon na tao to. Ususunya estima tatago pape faninsima be fanatitig ni mandatsu. Sagis ki man protestam todwa Europa tawda ne mana iu kontra il governo tawda ma fatto toto governo dona gas che akan fanu lusi signor Cao Dominguez ko ti tauto de papai tauto rau hamin na ba kau da yo sasagan lo pedi malongo na ti matu gi zo sangone si twini na dispenso prima sa ti matu gi na dia sa lani paret politikan paret da ti matu sama brapitalan liko mau naman na be grupo pabiyag naman nili kapag sa grupo piloto lo siluhan doon na tres senador dos senador ani si Yamashita ay Yamashita gatan ko man hando na tres ko man bali tirin matanggi talapon mami ang pwede man masasadi gana man babayla no maisa lo beda taulikan doon na papengi lo dangkudu na si Zeus maasi benas notis da todo si tahu ini kita tapitan hagurai titadan hadiran mo sino Agun Chino lani ko mananda ni Chino Dino lani loy polu da be paise ni iwe sigi papa ki kotte da be berasea torina midlo Todo la ina maristo, prestisi babarias, u rispetam prestitres, u respeta, es venas notis, todo tanto na tres, tan todo manatumo ni mangai gini ni man presenti, si trini dani sagona, an si guinisi, si malano chedi sai primo stina tauto, ecco quanto bai tauto di mà làm rèn mà nói mình đi cùng cả tuần là lo cũng ta lo mồi cái sao ta nói phải không bonito me la da tapa poquito du donko du ando na tres no se durma si buenas noches está aquí
si Dios Masi Bill Sablan Mr. Sablan he's no longer here. Okay, Tom Camacho, Alison Augustine, he left. Fred Uggan, no, Uncle Fred. Haji. Oh, okay. Okay. Then we have one more seat. Abu Rose. That's you. Tom, we can begin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, Speaker B.J. Cruz, Vice Speaker B.J. Cruz, and Senator Yamashita. Thank you for allowing me to, first of all, my name is Tom Camacho. I'm a resident of Sinahanya, originally from Tumuning. I'm a Chamorro, not by virtue of the Organic Act, but because my ancestry through my grandparents and great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents, and as far back as you want to go. First of all, we found out, basically I also represent the Guam Organization of Saltwater Anglers as its president. And at the time we became aware that the rules and regulations were being promulgated, they were already up to Amendment 15, and basically our organization forced ourselves into the task force. We weren't invited, we weren't notified, we were aware of the law. We're a recognized organization, a non-profit organization, mind you, registered with Revenue and Taxation. All our information is there. So it wasn't until actually Amendment 17 that we came on board to the discussion of the indigenous fishing rights regulations. And already when I walked in the door, Mr. Chairman, I was disheartened to see who were the members of this task force. And quite frankly, they were all members of other nonprofit organizations that are environmental groups who push for the protection, who push for the enactment of the preserves, and who are now oppressing our people once again from utilizing our resources, not theirs. After Amendment 17, we came to several more meetings, and I stopped receiving notices of any meetings after the 19th Amendment. And the 19th Amendment was when, at the time, the proposal to include indigenous fishing methods, okay, which was the bones from our ancestors as hooks. And from that day, Mr. Chairman, I didn't quit. I have not resigned from the task force. I have just not been given any notice of any meetings after that amendment. And it's sad. I know Tino personally, I know Jay personally, I know Tita personally. And all of a sudden we're at Amendment 21. I can just imagine the people who came during the first 1 to 17, how they feel that they're automatically at Amendment 21. And we don't know really what's going on. What direction are they going? As I sat here and listened to the testimony from everybody, we're all going to sing the same song. We're all going to tell you how we feel and talk about, why do we allow Fish and Wildlife to dictate what our people can and can't do. And that is a valid question. Why? Funding? To prohibit us from utilizing our resources? To provide for our families? That, Mr. Chairman, is discrimination in itself. We got to remember, the agency, the department needs to remember that it is for indigenous fishing rights, not indigenous fishing methods. It's the right to offshore and harvesting of resources. Harvesting of resources. It did not designate a particular area. It did not specify culturally managed areas or marine preserves. It said, give our people the rights to offshore and harvesting of resources, period. What's the big problem in creating rules and regulations to allow our people the rights to our resource? For over 4,000 years, and it has been proven, there have been archaeological studies proven that our people have utilized our oceans for sustenance, for survival, to feed their families. They were barters with our people upland who were farmers, who tilled the soil to produce crops. We didn't have any livestock back then. But we harvested what was natural, the lemai, the fatting, and we traded with each other. Over 20,000 people on this island. And we fed them for many, many, many years. And we have not jeopardized the resource. And you guys need to, I don't mean you guys, Mr. Chairman and Senators, I mean the Department of Agriculture needs to realize that over 85% of our island is a de facto preserve. Okay? Anderson Air Force Base, I cannot get in there. Retidian, I cannot get in there. Navy base, I cannot get in there. The whole eastern side of Guam is cliff line. You expect me to jump down the cliff and go fishing? 85% of the island already. And then they want 5 preserves. First they wanted 10. Thank God the senators were smart enough to reduce it to 5. But even at that reduction, it was supposed to be rotating. They didn't do that. And you know, Mr. Chairman, my son was born when they enacted the Preserve Act. I grew up in Tumuning. Mr. Flores, we're very, very closely related. I'm familiar Suilo. My mother's Agnes Manibusan Camacho. Okay. And I grew up in Tumuning. I was taught how to fish by my father and my grandfather in Tumuning and Aganya. Okay? it's disturbing that I cannot allow myself to teach my very own son how to fish in a safe area. I have to take him to the east side where it's dangerous. How many people have died already? How many more people have died? Are we waiting for my son to die in order for us to act? It's just about time we stop. We need to focus on what is right to protect our people. You know, and I just want to remind you on the bill. Page 1, line 4. Spanish discriminated against the Chamorro people by prohibiting fishing outside the reef as well as placing various restrictions offshore inside the reef. Okay? Page 2, line 1. The American Naval Administration continued policies which hampered the free exercise of traditional fishing practices of the Chamorro people. It's not paginated, there's no line number, but today our own people are restricting us. Our very own Chamorros. And I am passionate about this, Mr. Chairman, because the reason why we organized this Guam Organization of Saltwater Anglers is to give the people a voice, because nobody's listening. How many times have you had Manny Duenas come down here, bark and moan about all these regulations, and one comment I heard was, Manny, where are your members? I'm sorry, senators, but he is appointed. He is voted in by his members to represent them, like I am. When I speak on behalf of over 35 individual fishermen and their families, and their families' families, and it's growing. And you know, we just got to stop this already. You know, funny thing, they mentioned ASIN as part of the CMA, culturally managed area, or whatever the heck they want to call it. They don't realize that ASIN is actually under the direct control of the National Park Service. That is actually a marine preserve under U.S. National Park Service. But guess what? They manage it because they allow the people, the community, to utilize it. That's management. When you talk about the marine preserve areas, you're not managing it, you're closing it off. You're putting it in a glass box, throwing it on a shelf so people can look at it. We go there. How many times you've seen Offing and Mr. Jackson get arrested because they're trying to prove a point? I cannot catch Manyahak if they're 50 feet in the ocean or in Tumon Bay. I need to go step in the water. Why can't you allow me to do that? It's just too much already. And then we go back to sports fish restoration funds. And the comment was, well, senators, the funds is decreasing. I'll tell you why it's decreasing, because the very source of the income for those funds is through the fishermen purchasing equipment that is taxed at the manufacturer. Well, obviously, the fishermen are purchasing equipment because there's too much regulations to go fishing. It's a double-edged sword. They're going to put themselves out of a job pretty soon if they continue to the way it's going. You know, earlier I was joking with Tino, you know, I hope you have thick skin, because you're going to be faced with a lot of people. And it's very true. I'm not going to elaborate on the other things that I have in here, but I do want to present to you, Mr. Chairman, I do have a draft bill, okay? And it is called the Guam Fisheries Act of 2014. We actually put this bill together back in 2010. The fishing community, Guam Fishermen's Co-op, Marianas Underwater Fishing Federation, and the Guam Organization of Saltwater Anglers, and all its members came to the table and said, you know what, we got to do something about this because the Department of Ag is running rampant. There's no direction. We need to put a committee together, a council together to guide them, to show them where they should be going. One of the biggest concerns that I had, because this bill, part of the reason why this bill came to light was, you know, we were looking at opportunities to allow access for our people, our disabled, our manamku, and our youth. Safe fishing areas, access to it. And the comment that I got was, well, you know, Tom, we did go to the mayors and we did ask him where, you know, if they wanted to put a fishing platform somewhere. I'm sorry, but the mayors are not the users of the resource. It's the fishermen that are the users of the resource. And if the fishermen want to use the money in the Sports Fish Restoration Fund, give them the opportunity, like, to make a suggestion of what to use it for. So much money in that fund. Where does it go? I'm sorry, it's not 14 fads, but it's 15 fads. And yes, they're right, because their grant cycle is a year-to-year grant cycle. So when they write a grant, they cannot go over a certain dollar value, because a lot of that dollar value goes to salaries. But the rest of it goes to projects. Okay, one of the projects in particular, Vice Speaker, you mentioned was the fads. The question was, many times the fishermen have been asking, when are we going to get this done? Oh, we don't have a boat. When are we going to get this done? Oh, we got procurement issues. When are we going to, oh, GSA. Basta, I'm tired. I'm going to sell my boat. But you know, the department does not realize that Guam is a natural fish aggregate device, which is what a FAD stands for. It's an object in the ocean that provides shelter from the heat. It attracts the smaller fish, so the pelagic fish come in and feed off the little fish. Guam is just, the island is just like a natural FAD. So tell me we're exploiting the resources. Over 4,000 years we've been using the resources. We're still alive today. What's the problem? Give our people their right to use the resources, Senator. If we need to go back to this bill and change it and say, according to the Organic Act, all Chamorros on Guam is allowed to fish anywhere they want, I think everybody back here will be happy. That's your regulation. Sorry for taking up too much of your time, sir.
No,
thank you.
No, I appreciate your testimony along with the other testimonies. I want to talk a little bit more about this bill that you prepared. It's pretty lengthy, page.
Yes, sir.
25 pages.
25 pages.
So it shows that you guys put a lot of time into this.
Definitely. Before you continue, I know there was some comments earlier about our people don't want permits. It does allow people, well, they're mandated, but our Chamorro people are grandfathered. They don't pay a fee, they still get a permit, but guess what? Their permit is lifetime. They're a Chamorro, they get automatic access to the resources. Okay. Now there are some issues with the bill, and I will concur, it's not the best thing since sliced bread. But it's the opportunity.
I like the framework and the structure.
It's an opportunity to get it to the table we can discuss.
Do you think this Marine Resource Management Council can be the one to develop the rules and regs for the...
Senator, I'm almost guaranteed.
Okay.
If you look at the composition, it does allow the indigenous grassroots to come to the table. It allows the fishing organizations to come to the table. It allows the governor to appoint. It also allows more people that will be invited in a public forum to make these discussions. And we're not government employees, so we're not afraid of the repercussions. We are the guiding force for the, well, if this bill passes, would be the guiding, no, they have not seen it.
Yes. Trini, have you seen this? Has
no.
The Jackson season?
No.
Oh, okay, you're okay, you'll get your time, but I just wanted to just quickly.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be more than willing to sit down with you or any other senator that is willing to introduce this bill. I'll be willing to sit down with the indigenous organizations to work this bill out so it's happy for everybody. And that's what we're all about. I'm not about to tell Trini and her group, you cannot fish here, but you can fish up north. That's not what we're all about. We want inclusiveness. We want to be included in the direction that we're going on our island. We're tired of repression. We're tired.
Okay.
Too long. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, Mr. Snaxton, yeah.
Sinya zo Pumatsamoro. Anyways, she's at Masi, Mr. Chairman, Senator Respicio, Vice Speaker BJ Cruz, and Senator Yamasida. Pagwa stina tsagi no udusa betungava, timonyo pagosa literalzo sta ke gobierno. Dati zawi principal no atano ke kaurazo now you working paper na esta maestro zo na pues esta will work my retirement na as in like kusangani sa goswini na by cuentos pagos librizo este say line na mauzulo anyway antes de bayo tutun este si Fred Agono lai está retirado na sacan 20 años o mamanyagi Chamorro gi escuela público Manyago zo FB Longarero, Manyago High School, Wamisteries and Price Elementary School Taginais is a kuno certification from kindergarten to 12th grade. Ekofa za manay niya so. Timalago na so. Pues inigay na si Luis Regis na no director linga Tagifan ni elementary which is sa Guasi Trini linga sagamon sa Timegat Boroto na sa ungan magad. Lai si Jania dan kuloko tagini papa elementary na si todo puti patarso le kopolo by biro pa middle school. Anyway, so Fred Agon olay Fred Agigi Agon mapanyago zo sa moro na nonta tao pia kasi zo ya sa gwa Agon na no starter sin totsi za tao to maleso zo Izon mommy playground na no Cocos Island. Za fiwa ni gimaleso lai. Za si tino utunga subinuas te sa sinananya subinananaho si tan sufinan Flores kita na lahan. Sina te atungo si tino lo tunga we. No lingnianan ang gintungo mo nango ang pumeska pusti tau to maleso ang. Jangin gaigyo maleso na. Okay? So me kanton tasya todo siya. Pues adunay na itasi masam na manugagando sa todo antes. Ombe lama todo careta gaso antes pe manopa Johnston Theater pe penega show pa todo television. But anyway, antes de besangan este punto ko una pa besangan gwini. Sa dangi pa besangan por fishing rights megay lo una herencia my inheritance. Adza pa be concentrate on that particular palabra Chamorro. Okay? Now, ante di besangan sti ba benatan yarligam sa man benago vestila na grupo zawasti taja gini no mumumo. You know, maulig lai manyatsalikit lo in historia. Este na park ranger. Pumano na ipajechonya por linya gisain papa ni mamumuka linya don't feed the sharks. Don't feed the sharks. Sige papa no, kanagwa fa mau na. Umbi adto si so na park na po atan kanton tawsi jan elum tano. Inabira gwe linga sign don't pay the ranger. Incomprendi como que linga zo? Linga don't feed the sharks na. Put pono papa na ranger po chegi zo na. Linga bira ge linga don't pay the ranger. Anyway, kumikiling este na tauto ni Davidio chogi si sonya ti ato chogi pues de Davidio mapasi na. Okay? Pues pago na meeting lai kala no gatsa gwini na office na tinaka no 2,000 más días ni manaya 90 días por machogis por a mí tal vez te pensé que pechesonia. Pues na tana utsum fan este tana sua. Ta pegalo siya baros pa si San Augustine of sagana agricultura pasti. O sa maruta ni mas tumungo purafa. Lo anyway, bayo gaigigi zoko pago cuentos por atan este toda fino ko samoro za anon type siya half page. Lo basta za herencia my inheritance. Y herencia ko si ta taon na now bihu na herencia zo para baitungo munango para baitungo finena ba baitungo mulala ba baitungo pumulo nengkano ge lo la masa ba bait sempre todo no so no ba baitungo finena na munango ini tungo mananga fa nu izo taimano pa be pescantosi zaza pa be kone e pa be necessita okay pes afanogio finina nane ni estazo atungo na no manango na piso you know rod and reel fishing pole zange no kone taiguina na guian less than 6 inches or 7 inches Parafa mabit zuti aja itu sa no zolala talu zoladan kulo lo gikusumben mami mafana wekko na anun suli je sesi tuba ling niya na that's about 8 inches the tuba knife na Adja naguian dan mas dongkulo taigwini. Gua na lingya je gasong esta taigwini kinenena gua na lingya ulo. Pues tisinen kene je sa komalisi biuzi taigwini naguian nai di kekenya. Nilalot Dios sempre. Polo jola dangkulo ji gagam pe. Okay. Pes kumekelenya na i governo pago the Department of Culture para una suazine herencia que imanya nahu put guaho ne jaho umano para itasi za pa bay ispian engkano pa familia ko di latino lai di nancheste se man maulu gini na isamoro mon nai fan manaya my grandfather ya maulu gino lo jangin gua lain ni leknya munga bigi preserve lo hafa ji preserve talo na para gua gini sumangan way back then an makto jo gini gi meeting la na para talachai guian haji amount no na where's the scientific thing na bulachai guian na betunga fa mulalachai guian ay te tauto lai iman sakyan iman kusino na tauto mulalachai guian iman dinamimita iman todo no siya lo jangin mafanyogo ni rin shamo ni de rancina klasen pesca ti un sogo jambi dinamita o aji antis linya ji desia ji root aji ale tinanom ni panujo no lai ante mangoneo pues de malaso pues ay te bespe otro atmas pa bekekoni aji ni te debe de bekone ni te legan klasen kinene Dangin piso bay usa pues piso ay ti dinamita lo después na man manungo en aji cocinada siya na klase na ajige sa sadik magay patakoni iguyan niya na klase pues ang patafanyago na pudi rin shata pudi sti pumiska na tay manit gatsong gwana linya guni tisinaw no umano gi ang gintalo pumipisawa patumalazo pong along galum hanum apeno gasong na klase sempre jangin oi piso lai sempre gaigyo galum hanum sa tibe piso jo ke kantun unai jadun na better go piso how is it ridiculous like it doesn't make sense ja jangin pata preteste na herencia jani kuterata pues debe de práctica ya por práctica un debe de manai de ritmo ni riensiamo ni pona set bilo bula na aji ini manai on este derecho a spia ocho na clase en soto ya te lugar na clase en soto okay lo por último te me que pe sangan más por esta herencia se está toda 21 como emprendiste ofa herencia puede amzone tres naciones gwini ni mangaigi en considera na no propone na clase na junta ni en gagago na puede na preba en gagago regulation indigenous fishing rights dan todas the task force ni mangaigi the members da puede na preba saya masi dan maling na kwento so pago na poinye sujur masi
Okay, Abu Rose.
Okay. Saya masi ni finatun meju ni minangkov meju Gosia bro sa tamangilaw manso gyo to sugo lom haga na mafanyago mongmong na mafanyago haga na dumangklo pues islako anza bifino English si Howard Zinn Z-I-N-N a historical writer wrote A People's History of the United States said about his so-called founding fathers, that they were geniuses because they paved the way to plunder lands, profit, and political powers. The attitude that been ruling us and up to tomorrow was uttered by Vice Admiral G.D. Murray, who said about this island, the economic development and administration of relatively native inhabitants should be subordinated to the real purpose for which these islands are held, and are of little or no relative importance to the welfare of the United States. This is November 21st, 1945. Fishing. Fishing is learned before a child's first word and before a child's first step. The U.S. has always been callous indifference to our rights, to our needs, and to our culture. Our birthrights, especially to fishing, shall not deny us to fish by any means, by any methods of modern, past, or futuristic choices. Poisons and explosives have never been our method, nor shall we ever allow it. Alien government have allowed our seas open door to any collectors and every means to exploit, to extinguish, and to harm our ecological livelihood. Now, I've seen with my eyes the doctor's housing at the old Guam Memorial, where they have cases, glass cases of seashells. And they have more than one. The teachers' housing in Harmon way back, they too have their own collection. The Rohawks, they had all these open seas to go fishing, wipe it all out. Then you have Operation New Life. And everybody that comes here can go fishing and take and take and take. But they blame us. I believe that this alien government has been racist against our rights. The seas are our life. The ocean are trading routes, and our seas, skies, breathable. Why is ours not ours, but for everyone who don't give a damn? Gluttonous people who believe to take and take and take are not entitled to any fishing rights, nor are they welcome here. Department of Agriculture, you are outlaws. This is Abros. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like now to invite up Trini Torres, Mariano Kirichai, and Megalahi Meganiti. Yes, of course. Can we have a copy? Thanks. Okay. Yeah, it's for the record. I thought you were quoting from Howard Hemsling. I thought she was quoting from you, but Howard Hemsling. She said Howard Zinger. Okay, we'll start with Trini. You need to go. Okay. Let me just thank the director for her participation, and thank you, director.
I guess she's gone. We're not ready yet to go. Please, my Pamparu. We're related, you know. Anyway, buenas, mangi unu mapos. Okay. Okay. Chidusmasi, Hanju Nados, honorable senators, and especially the chairman of the committee. And also I have some thing that you did along the way, you know, preparing, binding some things. I'm Trini Torres. I'm Magahaga of the Tautomona Native Rights and the first Magahaga of Chamorro Nation, and chairman of the Chamorro Cultural Development and Research Institute, the nonprofit that you keep hearing about the raw part because we're asking for help from the government to be fixed, and is one of our greatest heroes. Greatest heroes on Guam, our people, for our people. And he's one of our forefathers. We tend to think, oh, because we're taught in school about who our forefathers, who are really not our forefathers. So now we're learning who our forefathers are. And some of the people here may become also some forefathers for generations to come. Anyway, thank you very much for allowing me to speak. You know, I'm glad that the director is here, because one of the things that were really wrong in the bill, in Public Law 29-127, was that the director then, Joseph Torres, followed suit from Basler and manipulated things that's not even in the public law, about who was to choose, who was to select the task force members, the Indigenous Resources Task Force members. There's nothing said in the law. You can go back and read it over and over. They manipulated by getting the Attorney General's office to write their opinion that it's unconstitutional in the first place, and then they twist it around and then start to appoint the members by advertising in the newspaper. And of course, how can we agree to that when the ones that he selected were opposing the bill in the first place, the law, Public Law 127, right? 29-127. Even Offing did say herself that she refused because all those members who they appointed were against the bill to start with, against public law, the public law to start with. So how can that be? But the law, the intent of the law, in fact, the amendment that Senator Ben Pangilinan put in and was, and was passed, was that the indigenous grassroots, Chamorro grassroots, were to choose the members, and comprising of those members, 4 men, 4 women, and 2 of youth age, not teenagers, but young adults. And we made sure, we went ahead and did follow the law as it says, because there was nothing that says that the director of agriculture was supposed to appoint that the director was supposed to select the members of the task force. Right. You can go back and forth and read it. There's nothing that says that it's up to the director of agriculture to select the task force. So we went ahead, since we have been pushing this bill, the bill in the first place, and we were following through, and we're going to so many meetings with you, Rory, and especially Judy Guthertz. Yes, the former Senator Judy Guthertz. And we came even up to the point that even after this law, 29-127, was passed, she came to the conclusion that because of all these problems coming from the Attorney Generals being pushed by Joseph Torres, the then Director of Agriculture, who even threatened us that he was going to call the police when we were meeting in Tamuning, and he invited us to attend that meeting, that he would call the police if we mention fishing rights. That's how bad it got, too. So Senator Judy Gutters did conclude that it's better to rewrite the bill, and I really worked hard on it, on Bill 190, and we sat over roundtable discussion, including our people who are coming most of the time, even Aniti here, and even Boobing, and Mariano Kitachai. Yes, Abaros, Magalay Ben Garrido, and even sometimes Magalay Malay, Joe Garrido, and Victorano, and there were people who were really following through, and we sat many times to go over that bill, 190. And we almost came to the final end point. But then we got so many oppositions because the outsiders and the Department of Agriculture really opposed us. Opposed on the basis that they will lose their federal grants. Mostly that. And we met with you guys. You know that, Jay. And you know that, Tino. I met 2 times with Director Maritita, 2 or 3 times. Yes, and even Tello was there, former Senator Tello. We have been following up so many times, but they did not come out with the bill, the rules and regulation, draft rules and regulation then. And even then, draft bill 21 was the last they presented to me. And I was trying to convince them, let's work together. But to no avail. It dropped right there. And even Boobing was protesting with us outside the Department of Agriculture. We went to great lengths and trouble to push for our rights, which are ours in the first place. But we were trying to be civil about it. Okay. Now, remember that the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People was passed by the General Assembly. Then, 2010? And the US, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand did not want to approve it and sign it. But then, finally under world pressure from other nations, and including this legislature, because I found your letter, Senator B.J. Cruz, that that resolution number that was going through Congress, H resolution, I have the thing somewhere, but you wrote a letter to the senators to please push that bill through, resolution, that urging President Obama to sign and support that resolution, for Obama to sign and support the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, which automatically would give Native peoples, indigenous people like us, the rights to a lot of rights, including the right to our subsistence, which is fishing. Mind you, this is coming straight from above. Finally, of course, the U.S. signed it, right? And Canada and New Zealand, Australia. And this legislature, supported it. So what's going wrong? What is wrong? How can you not give Chamorro people our rights, which has already been approved around the world, including this legislature? What is going wrong? You allow the Department of Agriculture to exercise things that they are not even authorized to exercise. They're not even authorized to go and do what they want, manipulate everything. Up to this point, how many years? And some of our people were drowned, were dead, drowned at sea for fishing in rough oceans. How can we justify with our conscience and allow this kind of thing to continue on? And yet, the Department of Agriculture still does not have the authority to do what you're asking them to do. They're not the ones who are supposed to make the rules and regulation. And we did ours, and we had it. We hand delivered it to you. All of the senators, the director of the Department of Agriculture, signed, stamp, everything, and even the governor. And all of you, we hand delivered it personally, all to all, each and every one of you. And yet we're continuing to play this game. What's going on? Don't we have any brains to say, hey, enough is enough, let's stop this game? It's a wrong game in the first place. How? I cannot understand. I started complaining, even going all the way to Geneva, complaining about this thing. And they got the information. I had to make a report to the United Nations that thick, including self-determination, militarization, the effects of colonization, and indigenous fishing rights. And the UN Special Rapporteur studied all this with his legal team and brought it to the U.S. officials. I mean, what's going on? And because the UN did advise me before that I should try all local remedies. And I pinpoint the problem that it's you, the legislature, who keeps allowing this thing. So I'm looking for a lawyer to sue you. Yay! I have been looking for a lawyer. So what is it? You gotta stop the game.
What's that accountant doing with him?
Stop the game, because they would not be faulted for this. You would be faulted for not bringing a process to fruition, to end it, to come up with the rules and regulation. What's going on? You yourself supported our rights, indigenous fishing rights, because that's our subsistence. I'm always going crazy figuring out what in the world, what's the problem? When all around the world they approve the rights of indigenous peoples. Please, what's going on? It's beyond comprehension. I start doing this, putting key points also just to help our people so they can talk intelligently before you. And I'm a marine biologist instructor. I'm a scientist, and you keep saying there's nobody capable of coming up with the rules, and my own pescadoro and pescadora and all the people here have been fishing for their lives in the first place. So how dare you tell us that we don't know how to practice conservation, when all they're telling you is they're fishing to put food on their table. And American Indians went all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States and won their cases. They had to spend a lot of money, but they won. Every one of them won. Because if they did not have a treaty that lists down that they gave up their fishing rights, then there's no such thing that would be entertained by the Supreme Court. Because they are within the right that the treaty, any treaty that doesn't specify what they're giving up, then they're not giving up. A peace treaty is taking away rights of people. When it's not mentioned, then they shouldn't take away the rights of people. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? You're supposed to be brave, smart, educated, please, and let our people who they say, oh, we're not that intelligent, we're not that educated. Guess what? They're more educated. They got good sense, not only common sense, but good sense. They can rationalize. You heard them. They even joke about it. They were even happy. That's our culture. We make fun of things. And it's a therapy, a good therapy.
Well, we're here tonight to determine the status hearing, what the status is of the rules and regs. So I appreciate all your comments.
The point is you're giving them authority to go ahead and write rules and regulations, which they should not in the first place. And they're not supposed to be the ones to select the task force members.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah.
And we went and did our job.
Well, the law says that they have to prepare the rules and regulations. That's what the law says.
We did already. We worked for 2 weeks, over 2 weeks, even Saturdays and Sundays. We worked hard. Even Joseph Torres was there hanging around looking what we're doing. Yes, we were doing it right, all of us. And then we gave it to you long time ago. When? 2009? When is it, Ofing? You got the facts in your head.
I know, but pursuant to the AAA process and pursuant to law, the department develops the rules and regs, gives it to the governor transmits it to the legislature.
Did you hear what I was telling you?
I'm listening to what you're saying, but this thing that you prepared was prepared outside of the Department of Agriculture, and for many years we've been asking them to recognize your work, Trini. That's the AAA process.
Why are they the ones to recognize when it's you are the ones to recognize? You, the senators.
No,
It's your right, not theirs.
You make the laws, and that is part of the law.
Wait.
The law,
Tino,
127.
Did Mr. Torres sign off on this, the former Deputy Director of Agriculture?
Bassler?
Not Bassler.
That he received it. He was then the director. Bassler was the director then.
But Joseph Torres, you mentioned earlier, someone mentioned that Joseph Torres signed off on this rules and regs?
Became director. He never objected to the public law, but he wanted to seize the authority to do what he wanted. That's what happened. He manipulated everything.
To tell you the truth, I don't recall. I'd have to go back and check our records and see what actually he's actually signed. But they apparently have a copy of some.
He had copies because we've been having copies floating around.
Sure.
You know.
No, we have that.
They have it in the file. No, I have one. You can have it. It's Xerox. It's easy to get. We can give you. All the senators had copy, stamp, and received. The governor's office stamp and received. The attorney general's office stamp and received. What else? Who do we go to? Do you understand what I'm saying? Something went wrong.
Yeah, I understand everything you've been saying. Really,
Please. And it's up to you to say, hey, let's go over this. So accept this rules and regulations that Indigenous grassroots organization members came up with.
These draft rules and regs were obviously before Director Taitegui's time, but I want to ask Tino and Jay, have you ever seen these rules and regs?
We gave to the director. You can look at his signature. In fact, you know he signed every page. Each page. Look carefully and see.
December
He signed every page down here. And I said, oh, Mr. Bassler, you're so nice. You didn't really have to sign each page. But he continued signing and stamp each page, receive. Here it is. Here. Every page, receive. Here. Read it.
On March 24, 2009.
2009. Keep saying 2009. You know why? I appreciated your work, but somehow things went wrong. But we are human, and we can correct these things. We go back and say, hey, this is where we went wrong. Let's accept the fact that we made mistake, and here's the work. It's good. That's what they wanted. Indigenous fishing rights approved all over the world. How? Why did I have to go to Geneva and the UN?
Well, like I said from the very beginning of the status hearing, we're not opposed to the spirit of the law. We're not opposed to the indigenous fishing rights because that's what the law says.
Yeah.
What we're trying to determine is why it took Department of Agriculture 6 years to develop the rules and regs. So
they haven't developed.
Well,
and you know why it's hard? Because the indigenous fishing rights is in the rights of the people. That's why that government agency, which is really part of this colonial government, created by the Organic Act, by the U.S. Congress, created them. And so they don't have authority to reach and take things. A lot of our people did mention it. Take things, the rights of the people. And it spelled out rights of indigenous peoples all around the world. And it's signed and approved by Obama. And then the UN Special Rapporteur is going to them to talk to them about this. And they told me that, hey, I should work at local level, find local remedies, and I'm trying my best to reach you guys. So I'm looking for a lawyer. What else am I supposed
well, I don't
to do?
think.
Please.
Well, you're saying you want to sue the legislature, but I think again your frustration is misdirected.
No.
Because the agriculture is mandated by law to develop these rules and regulations.
No, it's not mandated.
Yes,
Nothing
it is.
in the law that say. Okay, find the words that say.
Within 90 days, right? That they have to.
No. Find the law. Find the part in the law that mandated the Department of Agriculture to create the rules and regulations and to appoint the task force.
But according to the law, we're following the law, everybody. If you don't like the law, then maybe we change the law. But for tonight, we're following the law like we do with all other laws.
Where does it say?
Page 3, line 19.
Read it out, please.
Section 3, submission and enactment. The Department of Agriculture shall submit draft rules and regulations for consideration by the AAA process within 90 days of enactment of this act into law.
Because they're supposed to work with us in developing the rules and regulations.
You're right.
That's the point.
In another section, it says
and we're supposed to include them, right? Because they're the ones who have the rangers to arrest us or people, whoever is violating the law.
Well, it says here also, you're right, Trini, it says the Department of Agriculture is hereby tasked to develop rules and regulations to put this policy into effect and submit the draft rules and regulations in accordance with the AAA process. And then it talks about at all stages of development of the rules, the department shall seek the input of and consult with the Indigenous Native Resources Task Force. And I want to recap that I recall very clearly that this group of individuals tried to work closely with the Department of Agriculture, but the people at Agriculture did not honor the spirit of the law.
That's
they
point.
Wanted to do things beyond what the law requires.
Yes.
You know? And Jay, you know that. So they branched out of their own frustration, gather their own intelligence, put together rules and regs, and the department refuses to recognize these rules and regs. So
That's it.
where we've been at the legislature is we can't act on rules and regs unless they're properly transmitted. We're dealing with checks and balances
And here we are.
So it's been
How many years
it's been 2000.
They violated the laws. We did not. We submitted to you, and you even had your stamp our bill.
But just because
When you gave us 90 days, we did it. And when
More than that.
They asked for 60 days extension.
Yeah.
After the 60 days extension, they asked for another 30 days extension. How much more extension? Last 2 weeks ago, they asked for another 1 week extension.
And we gave you.
Process a law like that?
We gave you our rules and regulations within the time.
I know, but
before the deadline, even.
We're doing the right thing, they're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, that's the point.
Ma'am, at the department, you're favoring it.
They're not needed. Rules is not needed anyway.
The law is the law. If I break the law, I get arrested.
Agricultural races.
The Department of Agriculture should be ordered to return all the impound of whatever that they have taken from the people and follow the law.
We're slaves.
Yeah.
We're not slaves.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so what really should have happened is that agriculture should have held a public hearing on this proposal, and then based on the public hearing, transmitted to the legislature the right way, not just Trini hand delivering this proposed rules and regs to Senator Guthers.
We met, remember I told you that we met with them several times, more than several, actually many times, to the point that when Joseph Torres invited us because we were attending the fishing matters at the mayor of Hagåtña's office, he invited us personally. He asked me and our group to come and attend the meeting in Tamuning, which he set up. And you were there when he told us, a lot of our people were there, when he told us if we talk about fishing rights, he's going to call the police and have us all arrested. And instead, and I convinced them, I persuaded, that said, let's not make any problems. We can act as human beings, and let's not cause any unnecessary, disturbance or what. Let's just be decent and, back up. It was hard to convince him, yes. He was there, and all our people. I mean, that's the way they have treated us. And we met with them many times. Ask Gwinifi how many times and Boobing they had to come because sometimes we're all busy. And I was teaching full time. How can I just keep, attending to this thing all the time?
Tino, what she's saying
Yes.
is true. Over the years, there's just been a big communication breakdown.
It's very hard. And people are dying. How can we justify our conscience?
Okay. Don't leave yet, Trini. I want to ask the next speaker to speak. Yeah. Mr. Kitachai. Yes.
I don't think I need the mic.
You do, because the people at home that are
Okay.
listening on TV.
Okay. My name is Mariano Drenes Kirasay. I'm almost 80 years old. I've been fishing since 9 years old in Tumum. The Nena Respicio is my mother, sister. Imagine that. The Nena Ana Respicio is my mother's sister. And I grew up in Tumum. Now I'm almost 80. I work for construction, 40 years in construction. I raised 5 children for the fish only, because construction is very low. I'm successful now because I raised 5 children. Now, the reason why I'm here is not to, I'm not against the agriculture. These are nice people. A beautiful lady there, the director, and the Tito Agon is my Knight of Columbus. We're Knight of Columbus. And I don't know this young guy. But the reason why I'm here, I'm almost 80 years old, and I'm born 1936 in Naval Hospital, Naval to Guam. I'm almost 80 years old, and I want to step on that water in Guam. How? I don't care whether you make the law or whatever it is, but before I die, my wish is to step on that water. Now here, why I come here. The rule says you go there and fish with what kind of fish? Designated fish. Now if you catch this kind of fish, you get arrested. The kind of fish is the tarakito or the skipjack. And you are there 4 or 5 hours, and you catch this fish over there, and you reel inside, you find out that this tarakito is already dead. According to the rules and regulation, you have to take that fish and throw it out. You have to throw that fish out. That's the regulation. It's already dead. Now I'm here to find out why. Where's the EPA? A sample, a 10-pound fish is dead, and then you're going to throw it out. That's why I'm here. I'm still fishing right now. Matter of fact, I've got about 10 pounds of kelewin right now in my pickup. It's already kelewin. Out. It's right there. You guys don't go because we got kelewin there. And the big twin bird that it is. I'm not here to tell that the agriculture, they're not doing their job. But my point here is I want to, before I die, my wish is to step on that water because I'm there since 9 years old. All my wish is to step on that water for not being arrested. I want to catch my octopus, even 3 octopus. Now, I think I talked too much, but I'm going to sit down now and let the rest.
Thank you.
Afde.
Magalai Manganiti.
Guahu si Magalahin Maganiti. Gikutura perfectuzo Magalahi. Gikutura. Za. Guahi Magalahin Familian Linun Robat. Gayu gini. Za putih lain na dia. Go putih lain. Kanto anyos memelofen. Kanto dias memelofen. Mas. Kini hafa fa let's see kong sta papa gwa si ya puma honyu papa itau tau guam that most precious lapi grant 2000 days sambi lo pagol nai organ fan policeman so na ma preso to trace that sesu ma preso tau ta amang meska preso pagustis ya Zon tsuli karitan mia lokwe. Za tama onra ilai. Lo an hami zo. Ay natsin nadik handcuff. Ipeska ki papa gitumum. Ay tama memeskam. We're protesting. We're not fishing. We're protesting. The anin plantay tekin in lalangusa. It is a protest. It is not fishing. It's a protest. Lo man matto that my prison. Makonit ikikipat kun. Managalogo magoting galogo. Hafesti na tao togwis. Ha? Hafa guaha. Pes malazo songonyo nisti ha. Masaya malag mono gini huzung na tao no. Palau, Tsuk, Pampe, Kusrai, Philippines, Japan, Korea. Ono fan ka tu gina tao no zon sagi me meska. That's what don't lo lao. You'd be lucky to be alive if you were to go to any of those islands and go fishing. Because you're not from there, you're not a citizen from there, so you have no rights to be in that water, period. That's all over out here. And here in Guam, wow, our people is still getting arrested, and yet the Indians are not arrested. And we're not even U.S. citizens here. Oh, fuck, are you guys good monkeys? Huh? Did they give you banana? I mean, really? I mean, you're the ones that are killing your own people. Because what? Grand money? So, you guys are like that? Let me give you one, because I am from Puntan. And Puntan ay kungugso pagugwa. Wow, kumekantus gini. Wow, malgo punapan. All you see, tres gini magisa tau agriculture. Siya pumumunuit. Siya manabababait. Pero malazo sa ngonyo. More than 2,000, mas kini 2,000 years, no? Officer, fire? Well, I'll give you 3 days. In 3 days, man malongwam so. Tasinyam so kumuluki katurmizo. Ye 3 días. Pa only 2,000 days. Ye 3 días. Tasinyam so kumukolo. Shame on you. Man tayo papazu. Man hami pagui gaga. Malazo sa ngonyo, hamzu pagui gaga. Toko. And Hamzo, ang pong sedis siya, Hamzo lokwe, man malongo, guau, gininihaga si Puntan, guau niya sa ngoni, na sinya uusa, inan niya. 3 días. Golf Masi.
Si Jos Masi. Next is Lababi Masi si Jos. Pat Aterta. Yeah. You're the last one who signed up to testify. Yeah, but the agriculture's still here.
Yeah, I'm not real good at speaking, but I just want to see that.
Wait, we have one more person who signed up to testify. Please give him the respect that he's given all of you. Go ahead, sir.
No, I was just hoping that when they do write these rules and regulations, they'll take people like me into account. I've been on Guam 59 years.
Is your mic on?
Oh, I've been fishing my whole life, and I fish almost every day. In fact, I was out this morning, and I was hoping that I don't mind people given special rights. I just don't want any of my fishing rights to be taken away. Because I'm not just someone, there's people that fish and there are fishermen. And I consider myself a fisherman because that is my life. And I don't sell fish for profit. I sell fish to put my children through college and feed the family and help my neighbors. And so, like I say, I don't really have a lot to say. I just want the hope that someone would take people like me that have been here all of our life and we've never known another home, that you'll take us into account too in this situation. And that's all I have to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, the director, just to wrap up here, you've heard a lot tonight. You've heard all the not only passion but frustration, but also anger over the 6 years of lag. I'm going to give you an opportunity to propose a way going forward. I want to recognize you and give you an opportunity. What I've done from the legislature is to try to impress upon how you have to follow the law. And the law says you recognize this Indigenous Council, that you use the council to help you in the development of the rules and regs, and that you transmit these rules and regs pursuant to the AAA process. And so you've gone through 21 different drafts, and we're still. Director, I want to recognize you and give you an opportunity to summarize today's status hearing.
Okay, we appreciate your consideration, Senator. And like I say, I'm new to this too, but I've heard it, and we'll try, our very best to go back.
We got cursed tonight by Magalahi Manganiti that in 3 days we're going to get sick. I don't want to get sick in 3 days, and I don't want you to be sick in 3 days. And I want you to communicate to the community tonight what do you think you're going to do going forward, having heard all the testimony, having understood the requirements of law, having understood from our perspective that we cannot just take these rules and regs and adopt it in the legislature without going through the AAA process. We have a separate but co-equal branch of government, you guys. Please, you criticize me, you blame me for the last 6 years. We cannot act unless we get these rules and regs from the Department of Agriculture. If agriculture is not going to move forward, then something else has to be done. But right now, you guys have to move and you have to submit these rules and regs to
I
us.
assure you, Senator, that we'll do the very best we can and work on it. And we'll
Can you
keep in
give us some
contact.
timelines? Because the people cannot wait any longer.
I understand that, and like I said, we have drafted. We have almost come to the end of it. So.
Well, you said you were waiting.
It shouldn't take any much.
You said you were waiting on the idea of the culturally managed preserves, and that's not going to happen. Can you use this as your starting point?
Okay.
This will be your first draft. Never mind your 21 drafts. This is your first draft. You try to call a meeting with them again. I think what we agreed to tonight is there was a communication breakdown. And I think everybody, even Trini, is saying we want to move forward together. Can you make this your first draft? Hold a public hearing on this draft and see how the community feels about this draft? Well, let's
give us a copy. Give us a copy because
Yeah.
we don't have it on hand.
You can have the
I
copy
don't
that
have-
Trini gave me.
Yes, and
Jay?
we have to look also into our legal advice.
Last night,
It has been a long night, so we'll look into it. Like I say, I assure you, Senator, that we'll look into this and we'll get back to you as soon as we make the final.
Tino, how quickly can you assist the director in holding a public hearing up at the Department of Agriculture? Well, I imagine procedurally first you'd have to have the Attorney General review that because you...
That's my setback.
They do several weeks to
We have to
do
get the.
that.
Well, just to clarify, ma'am, Ms. Tino, the Attorney General hasn't reviewed this rules and regs. They gave him a copy, right, Trini?
Yes, we gave it.
But he hasn't. They stamp received it, but they have. So maybe ask them if they.
What we could do is if
Ask them if they've already reviewed it. Maybe they have already
maybe
reviewed
what we
it.
could do is even just forward a copy and a formal letter requesting their review, and then cover that and just be done. In the meantime, to do notice to the public, that requires a purchase order. Basically the procedure of paying for an ad, if anything. Since those aren't free, we have to do that, and so while the Attorney General's doing that review, we can be trying to process that as quickly as we can.
I think just like the issue yesterday on the inspection of both the quarantine facility, animal quarantine facility, and the proposed animal quarantine facility, the reason why, Director, you're in a bad situation is because you're just not moving the process forward. I mean, move the process forward, let people weigh in on the discussion, have the community have a conversation, and as I said last night, you let the chips fall where they may. But if you're not moving forward because you're afraid of losing all these federal grants, then you can see why that the community is not happy with your position, right? So, okay, this is not the last status hearing we're going to have. As a matter of fact, I want to also spend some time sometime soon on a proposal that was drafted by Mr. Tom Camacho and his group. Okay?
And also Judy Goddard's Bill 190.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. So I want to thank all of you for your participation tonight. I know the Vice Speaker shares that same appreciation for your contributions, and we're adjourned, but it's not the last time we're going to get together.
Thank you, Senator.